Coming out of the fighting town of Newport Pagnell, standing in at 6'1", and scaling in at 13 stone. I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Simon Gates. Simon, thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Chris. I think saying 13 stone and 6'1", you've been very kind there. So you've already got the podcast off to a good start by schmoozing me there. Appreciate it.
I thought, if being having girlfriends over the years has taught me anything, if in doubt, go optimistic.
Yeah.
So, Simon, we were discussing before you came on. You need no introduction in any way, shape, or form. You've got the podcast, you've got the Opening the Gates Facebook group, you've got loads of stuff going on. You're all over social media all the time. So, we don't need to do an introduction for yourself. Everyone should, at this point should know what you do. So, talk me through how we've got to this point, though, because obviously you were previously with Home Search, you were with an estate agency before then. How we got to the point that sort of you came around and sort of had the idea of starting Opening the Gates? Talk me through it.
So towards the end of my time of being a branch manager, I really started to immerse myself in learning. I don't know about you, but I do more learning now than I ever did at school. Like once I got to the end of school, I was like done with it. University didn't interest me. I wanted to go be an estate agent, bizarrely. And then yeah, I kind of coasted through estate agency. It's not hard. It's not rocket science, is it? Like it just be well mannered, be a good conversationalist, and do what you say you're going to do. And you'll go pretty far. And then once I started running a branch and getting results, I started then looking outside of the four walls of business I was in for inspiration. So Australia, America, podcasts, trainers in this country. And I was coming back to my branch from doing this training, which I was spending my own money on and taking holiday to do because the business didn't believe in it. And one of my senior negotiators was like, "You're relatively okay at this. Like maybe you should look at going and doing some form of training or consultancy." And that kind of stuck in my mind for quite a while. And then the university works in mysterious ways, and Sam Hunter contacted me in late January 2020, just before COVID, and said, "Good day, mate. Do you want a job?" I said yes. So I left my stage career behind, which felt weird because it's all I'd ever known and done. And I spent 3 years at Home Search. And you say about being relatively well known and trying to be all over social media. When I started at Home Search, cold calling estate agents wasn't fun, Chris. Ringing up estate agents, "Hey, Chris Webb, estate agents, you want to buy a piece of prop tech? Get lost, phone down," kind of vibe. And I'm simplifying what we were doing. And I think I'd read, and I know you're a fan of his, but Daniel Priestley with sort of oversubscribed and Key Person of Influence. And I've read those in the past, and I was like, well, actually, there is a way in which hopefully I can bring people to me. So started doing a lot of stuff on the Facebook groups, on LinkedIn, etc. And then realized actually, why don't I start my own podcast, start my own Facebook group? And then over those 3 years at Home Search, it meant I built a bit of an audience. And then people started saying to me at the end of my time at Home Search, "Can we book you to do training, consultancy, mentoring, coaching, whatever it is?" And then, yeah, towards the end of 2022, I was like, I think this might work. And then January 23, I quit my job at Home Search and launched Opening the Gates, the business, on the 1st of March 2023. So almost 2 years ago. So that's where we are today.
So you mentioned there you mentioned about the estate agency you used to work at, didn't believe in training and you had to take your own holiday to go and get training and coaching. I mean, words don't explain that. What's going on, you think, in some estate agent's head where the members of staff have to take a holiday from their own diary to go do training that helps their own business? What's going wrong there?
It's a very, very interesting question. What's going wrong there? I think that there's a lot of complacency. So the company I worked for has been around probably 60 years now. Brilliant company, and has done fantastically well over the years. But that's a dangerous place to be in, right? Being like market leaders, because you then become complacent. And I could see that there was a shift and change in the market, perhaps because I was that younger generation. So, there's a dozen branch estate agency, and your average manager was probably, I sound so ageist now, but was probably in their late 40s, early 50s, whereas I would have been mid 20s. So they're like my dad's basically. I'm half their age. I can see the rise of social media. This was in the time of kind of purple bricks on the ascendancy. It's like there is definitely just saying that we're a people business is only going to get us so far. Like people are wanting tech, they're wanting WhatsApp groups, they're wanting their properties on social media, not in a newspaper anymore. So I think that they didn't believe in it. And I remember when I went to one particular event, which was to see Troy Malcolm over from Australia. And someone senior in the business said, "Why?" I won't repeat the exact word to words to keep it PG, but he's like, "Why are you going to see some jumped up Aussie like chest beating at the front of a stage? What's he going to teach you?" I think what was also said was, and this really annoyed me at the time, was, "Well, if you don't know how to do your job, should we find someone else who does?" It's like, no, I think I know how to do it. I think I can do even better, but I'm not learning from within these four walls. So, yeah, I think a rambling long answer is I think a lot of complacency there.
I think the thing that I've come to sort of realize on the training development side of things is that it's about paying down that ignorance tax. And in me, in you, in every estate agent listening into this podcast, there is an agent that can earn the money you want to earn, have the lifestyle you want to have, and cars or holidays or whatever it may be. They have got that. But the issue they've got is that they haven't got the knowledge where they are today to get to that point. If we dropped Tony Robbins, for example, into your business or my business, like, oh my God, like it would change overnight sort of thing. And, probably dreams would come true very quickly, etc. But there's almost that ignorant tax to where we get up to. And I think the thing that I've kind of come to realize is that everyone pays that tax in some way. And either you spend the next 20 years sort of trying to work it out yourself and blood, sweat, tears, money, investment, doing the right thing, doing the wrong thing, and you work it out that way and you expense it that way, or you cut a massive corner and you sort of pay someone to do it basically and say, just give me the shortcut. Let's save 19 years and 6 months off it, and let's save myself a bit of money, actually just pay for that in today, but you're kind of paying down that ignorance tax. So do you understand that? Do you kind of believe that's where it is as well in the estate agency world?
I 100% agree with you on that ignorance tax. And what's that saying? If you're, and this sounds really arrogant, I don't mean it this way, but if you, what is it? If you're the smartest person in the room, leave.
Yep.
And I, 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 I felt like that, and I was in a room just before Christmas, with a group of self-employed agents. So I got invited along to spend the day there, and at the end, the person sort of chairing it said, "Right, what have you learnt today, Simon?" And I was like, "But I'm in the right room." Like I by far am not the smartest person in this room today. Like the amount of things I'm learning from people was incredible. Outside of estate agency, so business ownership and increasing wealth, that sort of thing. And I think as well, just on the ignorance tax side of things, I was like looking at my screen for something, and I would have spoken about this before, like on my podcast, but I don't know what the technical term for it is, but I've got it saved on my computer as outdated knowledge. And
Yep.
I can't remember the exacts, but it's something like in your 3 or 4 years at university, exams, lectures, studying, whatever, you do 5,000 hours of learning. Every year, 5% of that knowledge becomes outdated. So every year you need to do 250 hours of learning just to stay relevant. So you imagine a doctor who got qualified 10 years ago, they could be giving advice today which could kill someone because it's outdated from 10 years ago. Like it's a bit like you think long before either of us were born, doctors used to say smoking was good for you.
Mm.
So I think that ignorance tax and outdated knowledge is a big thing where, and I think, I don't know about you, Chris, but I love when I come into contact with estate agents, business owners who are twice my age and have got so much estate agency business and life experience. I learn things from them, but they're open to learn things from me as well.
Is it a ego thing, do you think? And do you think that people, because I know when Sam was saying about the sort of, being the smartest person in the room in the wrong room effectively. And, there's lots of studies showing about who you compare yourself again, the top five people in your life and those sort of bits and pieces. And if you're the sort of pinnacle of those five people because you feel good about yourself and you're kind of always looking downhill effectively, where have you got to go? Whereas if you go into sort of the next room and you've got another five people that you're comparing yourself against and they're two levels above you, you're like, God, I need to put some work in here, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think the ego, look, if you want to be an estate agency, you have to have some form of ego, right? I think you're probably not in the right industry if you don't have a little bit of an ego. Um, But it's an interesting point you raised. So I was very fortunate enough recently to watch another Chris Williamson, at a live event in London, and he talked about actually like friend shedding. I think that's the language he used.
Yep.
And he's like, if you're actually growing, you're probably going to shed a friendship group in your adult life. And when he said it, I was like, yeah, the people I went to sixth form with, who I went boozing with in my late teens and early 20s, they're friends now, but I haven't seen them in years. I went to one of their weddings a few years ago, but I feel like I've outgrown them. And I was sat having dinner and drinks with a really close friendship group just before Christmas. And it's funny, right? When I go out for these sorts of dinner and drinks, my girlfriend is assuming, oh, we're just going to talk about lads and beer and girls. We talk about business, mindset, wealth, property market, all that sort of stuff. And I was sat there drinking a drink, going, "This is a room I want to be in. I'm having a good time. We're having a drink, we're having a laugh, but I'm listening to my friends going, you make me want to do better." And that's the kind of room I want to be in.
Yeah, we so every year I think you get £150 worth of Christmas allowance to spend on food and drink and stuff through the HMRC as a thank you for working really hard and paying loads of tax. And instead of going for dinner on my own, which I thought might be quite depressing, I got together with five other people that I know who are all self-employed, all kind of work for themselves, sort of thing, and went out for dinner. And they're not historically sort of my childhood friends per se, but they're all people who are all self-employed, all got their own business. And I left that sort of dinner, which exactly as you said, we talk about like money, finances,
Yeah.
startups they're investing in, all this sort of stuff. And I was like, I need to work harder. Like
Yeah.
one of the guys I was chatting to was like, yeah, I'll probably sell like 3% share of this business I've got. I'll probably clear like £500,000 from that. And I'll probably clear it. And I'm just like, you're the same age as me. Like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? So yeah, I 100% agree with you. It's all about sort of being in the right room and comparing against yourself with those correct people so that kind of you up your game rather than sort of being the biggest guy in the room.
And I think just if we relate that back to estate agency, if you surround yourself with the mood hoovers who say, "Oh, everyone in town is overvaluing. I can only get 0.5% in this town," that's what you're going to get. And I'm sure I've heard you say this before, and it's well known within the industry. You get the new person come in who's not been conditioned, and they go and get 2%, and you go, "How did you get that?" "Well, you told me that's what we charge." Yeah, the other person has been struggling to get more than 0.5% for the last 1, 2 years because of those limited beliefs that they've been conditioned to believe.
Yeah, with my client, especially. So we're recording this in January, but this will probably be going out in March. So slight disclaimer on the timescale side of things. But lots of people just before Christmas phone me up and go, "Oh, it's quite quiet, but it's quiet, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Why are you asking me that question? Is it because you want me to go back and go, oh, it is quiet actually, and everyone I speak to is quiet, and therefore you can kind of take your foot off the gas and it's okay to be quiet?" I literally was like, I don't care if it's quiet, not quiet. I don't care what everyone else is doing, what they're charging. You've got your business to run and what you've got to focus on. I can give a monkeys if everyone else thinks it's quiet and you're smashing it. Awesome, well done you. You're looking for that almost that get out of jail free card. You're looking for to ask enough people the question until eventually someone says to you, "Oh yeah, it is quiet actually, yeah, yeah," and you're like, "Oh thank God, I can take my foot off the gas and I'll take it easy and I'll turn my phone off at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll go play golf sort of thing." When really, you don't care. I don't care whether the market's busy, quiet, whatever, what's up, what's down. All I can focus on is what I'm doing. Outside of that, who knows effectively. So obviously you're well known for your stats. So you are the stats guy. Is that the official term? Is that the official tag? Mr. Stats.
Stat geek, maybe.
Stat
I don't
geek. Oh yeah, stat geek. There we go. So throw some stat geek stuff at me. Throw them my way. So if I was a self-employed estate agent listening to this, which I imagine probably 95% of the audience is going to be, what are some of the key stats that I should know today that are going to help me out in my business?
know. Right, I am going to throw a few different stats at you. So let's start at the listings you've already got. Because if you look at the latest data from 20 in 2024, around about 54% of properties last year went on to sell. Not great that there's a flip of a coin chance really of selling your property from a homeowner point of view, but also from an estate agency point of view, to say that half a business you're going to bring on is going to cost you money rather than make you money. So on that, what are some things you can do to increase that from 55% to 60, 65, 70%? And I'm sure there'll be agents listening to this who are already at 70, 75%, but maybe if they could get to 80. So just simple things in terms of like actually the the properties you have on the market. So being on a minimum or maximum price point, according to Rightmove, gets you 11% more detail views. So I had this conversation with an estate agent yesterday. A seller said to them, "We appreciate you said it's 450. We want to put it on at 460." Most estate agents will go, "All right then." But actually, if you go, no, no, you get 11% more detail views by being on a minimum or maximum price point. Imagine how many eyeballs we're going to miss by not being on at 450. So price points there, and then video. You obviously do a lot of video. I know estate agents a lot of them are nervous and scared to do video. What is it? 82% of all internet traffic is video based. So do it. I think on that as well. Is it on Facebook and Instagram that actually video content gets seen by more non-followers than
Yep.
followers? So when I get again, I don't know about you, Chris, but you get an estate agent who's just launched a self-employed estate agency, and they go, "Well, what's the point in posting? I don't have any followers." And it's like, well, if you don't post anything, you're not going to get any followers. But actually, if you just post a load of video content, that's going to push it out to people who are not following you. They will then hopefully start to follow you. And on the video side of things, if you're not doing video and presenter-led video tours on your listings, start doing them. It's a massive differentiator. According to Rightmove, only a third of properties actually have a video tour on them. And if you look at what's classed as a video tour, and I'm doing inverted commas, bunny ears for those listening, we know that video tours are a slideshow for a lot of them, or they're very slow videos with boring classical music. I'm talking presenter-led video tours, and you can actually put if you link that video on Rightmove through to your Instagram, and then when someone clicks on the video, goes through to your Instagram, hopefully they follow you. I think I saw you post this the other day, and it's so true from Rightmove. 8% more detail views, 6% more inquiries on a property of a video tour. Why would you not have a video tour? Why would you not put it on a minimum maximum price point to increase the chance of selling it? And then just one last point on data, because I'm properly geeking out now and I need to calm down. According to Spectre and 20EA, 46% of properties that withdraw from the market come back on within a year. So if you do not already have a withdrawn strategy, I strongly recommend you get one, because everyone targets on market properties, but actually the ones that have come off, there's a good chance they're going to come back on. Target them when everyone else is targeting the ones that are already on the market.
So what's that? Let's pick it up there, shall we? So obviously there's a good gold mine there, effectively, of withdrawn stock that is looking pretty likely it's going to come back on the market in the not too distant future. What are some of the best strategies to sort of target those people and sort of convert them from sort of has-beens to sort of wannabeens in the future to kind of come back on the market?
So on some of that language you just used there, just to pick up on that, again, a lot of agents, I think it's a fixed mindset rather than a growth mindset, and they'll look at what is it, 10 reasons why not to do something rather than the one reason to do it, right? And they'll go, "Oh yeah, but they're not moving, they've taken off, there must be a reason for it." No, it's probably a paused move, not a stopped move. Like there's still probably an appetite to move. Like that person who was on at 500 grand who came off in December, let's say we're in March, and someone says, "I've got 500 grand in a briefcase," they're probably going to move, aren't they? Unless something monumental has changed their life. But in terms of strategy, the easiest thing to do is to use one of the several fantastic prospecting platforms that are out there and just click a button and send a withdrawn letter. The trouble is everyone has access to those platforms, and as they've grown over the years, more and more people are sending out letters. I've got a friend who's taken a house off the market, and every day for a week they were sending me copies of letters they'd been sent, and it was for a certain platform, and it was obvious that that trigger had come up as a 6 months since they'd withdrawn from the market. The same letter being sent out by half a dozen different agents. You're just not going to respond to that, are you? But if, for example, it's a coloured envelope and you handwrite the address and you put a stamp on it, and there's a very specifically worded letter in there, you're more likely to get a response. And I think that on this as well, if you want to go really, really particular on it, I think if a majority of the audience are self-employed agents, they'll be talking about a bespoke boutique concierge, low volume, high service business. You maybe try and find the owners of those properties, which you can do quite easily online for free. Go and connect with them on LinkedIn. Because, for example, Chris, let's say you had your house in the market 3 months ago. I found out that you're the owner. I find you on LinkedIn and I connect with you. If you accept my connection, you've basically given me permission to slide into your DMs. Now, I'm not saying like, it should be the cringy cold DMs that we all receive saying, "I can promise you 50 more valuation leads a month," but something along the lines of, "Hey, Chris, I couldn't help but notice that your property on Smith Street was on the market last year from doing some research. I'm not sure if it's for you, but would you be open to a conversation about returning to the market this year?
Mhm.
And just a little caveat, the language I use there, I'm not sure if it's for you, but I've completely ripped that off from a book called Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. So obviously, apart from Chris's two books, the third book on the list for any agents to read if they haven't done is that book by Smith, Jones and Macken. It's incredible.
How would you, so I'm on LinkedIn a fair amount. How would you find that person? Let's say we walk down a street and we know it's sort of number two New Road, for example, that we know would kind of come off the market sort of thing. How would we connect and find that in, unless their name's like, Mr. Glockenspiel, and you're like, there's only one Mr. Glockenspiel on the whole of the South Coast sort of thing. That's nice and easy. But then a nice common name like Chris Webb, for example. How would you find that person online so they can then sort of mesh them? How would you narrow that down?
Yeah, so two things for this. I'm giving out some unbelievable gold here now. If I do say so myself. So two things. One, has the property had planning permission on it in the past, whether it got granted or not? Because if that homeowner still lives in that property since the planning application went in, go onto the local planning portal and you'll find out the owner's name.
Right?
Then take that name, put it into LinkedIn. There you go. Just on that point as well, you type in that name to Facebook. If you're an estate agent, funnily enough, in the local area, maybe it's where you grew up, you type in that name to Facebook, there's probably a good chance there's a mutual connection. Again, what's that thing? You're five people removed from the most powerful person in the world or whatever. Yeah. So there's that. And then the other thing to do is, and this is particularly for anyone wanting to get into the higher end of the market, but if someone is a director of a business or owns a company and they have some form of registration of that directorship or company ownership registered to their address, you're then going to find their
Sure.
name.
I
So again,
like
it's just typing in that address to company's house and then finding that information. So my company is registered to my address, rightly or wrongly. And if my house was on the market, it'd be very easy to find out for free within 30 seconds that I own this property. You wouldn't have to go and spend £7 on land registry to do so.
can confirm that because that is how Simon, as if by magic, gets a free book every time a book comes out. It's like, I go on company's house, find his address, and as if by magic, one appears very quickly. And as a sort of add to Simon's already gold mine as well, so as a man who has historically messaged lots of people on LinkedIn, don't really have to do it so much these days, but I probably should, is the sort of sending someone a text message, as in like typey is great. Next step on top of that is a voice note. So, hi, Mr. Jones, hope you're okay, excuse it, direct message, etc. One on top of that, which pretty much always gets a reply if you send a video. Literally, video of yourself. Hi, Mr. Jones. They see you're a real person, know you're talking to them. That always gets a response, even if it's just saying not of interest. But at least they'll say, actually, you put the work into it to contact me, so therefore they'll come back to you.
Just on that, you've actually reminded me of, I think in 2019, when I was first using Home Search in its infancy beta phase before it launched officially, I think I was on a call with Sam Hunter and we got on really well. We spoke prop tech, estate agency, cricket, Liverpool, and we hit it off. He slid into my DMs on WhatsApp, and the first message he sent me was a video. And it was like, "G'day, mate. Great talking with you." And I was like, this is weird. He sent me a video, and this is like nearly 6 years ago. But after I'd got over the fact that I thought it was weird, within a split second, I was like, that's really impressive. And if I could have my estate agency time again to completely reiterate what you're saying, and I think I would have heard you say it on the podcast, but just recording a video like, hi, Mr. Webb, Simon here from Opening Gate Estate Agents. Really looking forward to coming to see you at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. If you've got any questions in the meantime, give me a shout. 10 seconds to do it.
And for that 10 seconds it took you to say that literally then, that would take you what, 2 minutes worth of typing? Then you look through it, make sure your spelling and punctuation is all correct, and you spelt their name correctly, sort of thing. For people never receive long emails from myself, and this is something really official sort of thing. Outside of that, you'll just get a video from me. It'll be a screen recording of me saying, "Hi, Bob, hope you're okay, buddy. Here's the answer. Here's the review of this. Here's the review of that. Send. Thank you very much." Because A, it's quicker for them to absorb it, and if they really don't like the sound of my voice, they can times 1.5 and times 2 it, and I get really, really quick then. And for me, a minute. If I get it wrong, 2 minutes is either that or we're spending half an hour typing an email, which is the most boring thing in the world, even with ChatGPT helping me out.
Yeah, and I think just on that, you reminded me of my days at Home Search where someone might ask a question over email. And rather than responding with a lengthy email, which could be misinterpreted, just go to whatever I would have used, Loom, Vimeo, or Vidyard, and just hit record. Hey, Chris, thanks for the query. I'm just recording a 30-second video to answer it for you. The amount of people who would reply back going, oh my God, I love that video. And then it's a video they can go back to.
Yeah.
And I think as well for like uh, seller management as well, if you can, block out time each week to just record a 5-minute video. Hey, Chris, you've been on the market for a week now. I'm going to be giving you a phone call. But before that, have a watch of this 5-minute video where we're going to run through the Rightmove stats, social media stats, any feedback we've had, viewings, etc. And then you just send that video into a WhatsApp group that you've got with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and away you go.
Yeah, I think with lots of those platforms, you can track obviously how often the video is being watched, and you'd be amazed the number of times and the times of night that my videos get watched and repeatedly watched, sort of thing. So I don't think people know that they're tracked, but they are tracked, and so I get an email through every time someone watches them. I'm like, 5 o'clock in the morning, you watch that video. I was like, oh, I wouldn't be doing that sort
Yeah.
of thing. So yeah, it's a really good thing to do because especially if you send people that you're potentially looking to work with, and they've watched your video like 5 times, either they want to come on the market with you, or they're going to ask you out to dinner. One of the two. But either way, it's a win.
Yeah.
So let's talk about getting more instructions then. So obviously you are opening the gates to more listings. So what are some of the top ways at the moment that agents are getting more instructions into their business? We talked about the withdrawn side of things, and that's a really good route to go down. Is it sort of the omnipresent sort of marketing and your social media and your email and you're here and you're there sort of thing? What's the sort of main things we're focusing on?
Yeah, I think being omnipresent and consistency is so underrated. Like people will, let's say, go out and send 1,000 letters, let's say, and go, "Oh, I didn't get any responses." And it's like, okay, if I got your letter and then Google Chris Webb estate agent, what does Google say about you? Well, I nothing. I don't have a business profile, or there's no reviews, or I'm not on social media. It's like, okay, well, they're gonna search you. Like, it's a big decision to sell your home. They're not just gonna get a letter and go, yeah, that sounds all right. I'm gonna book them in to
You've
value
been
it.
right,
Sure, it
sounds honest.
might happen every so often, but yeah, I think omnipresent, being consistent, and really having trial and error and figuring out what works for you and really amplifying it. So, what's the Albert Einstein quote? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, right? For estate agents, I think it's insanity is doing something that gets an amazing result and never repeating it. Like you find out something works, double, triple, quadruple down on it, and then cut out the stuff that doesn't work. But we seem to keep doing the things that don't work and don't do more of the things that do work. And just I think look at the opposite of what everyone is doing. So again, in the click and send environment that we live in prop tech, obviously having worked at home search and seen a lot of direct mail, what estate agents tend to do when they go to these platforms, the first thing is I'm going to set up my weeks 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 triggers and just send out letters to our market. Well, funny enough, that's what everyone else is doing. So if all you're doing is targeting on market, you're targeting 2 or 3% of the market. So maybe go after the ones that are not yet on the market. Now, I appreciate is, well, hang on a minute. That's 97% of my marketplace. How do I know who's the one most likely to next move? Again, these prop tech models have propensity to move in them. So I know Spectre does it, Home Search does it, 20A does it, where they can show that certain properties are going to be more likely to sell. So maybe try and market to them several months in advance of them looking to move. And then I think just something that's really underutilized is leveraging your buyers. So you think back to the good old days of your early estate agency career, where perhaps a boss would come back to the office and go, Chris, this 3-bed semi's coming on the market, ring it out. And you're like, how much is it? Where are they going? What is it? Chris, just ring it out. So, okay, I'll just start ringing it out. So you knew your buyers inside out and you would match them to something. I think today we've become too reliant on Rightmove. So if you get a buyer who says, "Oh, that house isn't for me," great. What are you looking for? And then plaster it all over social media. I've got Simon and Louise looking for X, Y, Z. Can you help them find their next home? And that could also be a direct mail campaign as well.
It's funny you mentioned about the sort of having that what I would kind of call the clean shop window side of things with regard to people researching you after you send the message out. So I got an email from a email marketer, actually, strange enough, about 2 weeks ago. And really well written email, as you might imagine, saying, actually, we'll write your emails for you. We're completely free of charge. And if we get any business off the back of it, we take a percentage of it. And I was like, oh, seems very fair. I was like, I wouldn't normally click on this, or I'll click on the link, I'll investigate a bit further, copy and paste his username into Facebook, into Instagram, into Google, etc. Not a single Google profile. Last post on Instagram was like 6 months ago. Last post on Facebook was 6 months ago, sort of thing. I was like, bin. Because, how can you come to me and say I'm the expert in marketing and getting leads and all this sort of bits and pieces, but then you don't post on social media? Or you haven't got a Google profile, or you haven't got any reviews on that sort of thing. So I think it's about having that sort of well-rounded, that actually kind of wherever you sort of are stalked effectively, and you don't know where you are going to be stalked, you need to kind of have that sort of effect of actually we know our stuff and we know what we're doing sort of thing. So I think that's really, really important. And for me, that's kind of a real life example of someone that went from sort of, okay, I would consider this through to I would never consider this in about 5 seconds.
Was it this is going to sound quite stalkerish now, but was it in your first book where you had put something in there about referring to Tinder, and there was something like a study where if you linked your or had more photos or linked to social media account, you got more likes on Tinder, yeah?
That was, yeah, that is book number one. I have to try and remember my own books these days, but that is book number one in there somewhere.
Because that was a huge takeaway for me. Not that just to clarify, I'm very happy with Louise, my girlfriend. But I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because yeah, if you're looking to date someone, you kind of want to know what you're getting yourself into, particularly if you're going on a blind date from an online dating platform. And really, when you're getting someone, and I think you put this in the first book as well, was it's actually quite weird when you think about it. When you're sending a letter to someone saying, "Do you want a free no obligation valuation?" It's quite weird that you're saying, "Hey, stranger, you've never met me, but can I come and do a valuation where you sleep, shit, do what else?" Right? Sorry, but I've sworn. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on a podcast.
I'll have to click the explicit content button now.
Okay, there we go. And I read that, I was like, yeah, that's so true, and it reiterated my thoughts and I've had this conversation with an agent today, in that don't keep asking for free valuations. The next step, what's the easiest next step? So it could be PS, WhatsApp me on this number your address, and I will send you a complimentary report on your property. Like, someone go, yeah, I wouldn't mind a complimentary report on my property. So not the word free, complimentary report on your property. Someone who's not ready to move home is much more likely to do that than to pick up the phone and book a free valuation.
And do you think that kind of leads back into sort of the giving without expectation, which, to link us right back the way through, obviously your bio on LinkedIn, sorry, is to be the most helpful estate agent to follow, or most helpful person for estate agents to follow. Where's that effect?
Most useful person to follow for UK estate
There we
agents.
go. So is it that sort of viewer point of saying actually today the goal is to give, 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 and then people will come back to you rather than sort of going, oh, we'll give you this, but we want something back from you sort of thing. Is that sort of giving with no expectation to receive back?
Yeah, I think there's a fine balance, because at the end you want to get some form of data capture, of course, but it's that 80/20 rule, isn't it? 80% of the time give, 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 and 20% of the time trying to get something, and very Gary V, jab, 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 right hook kind of thing. But yeah, I think I would say if you look at your content and look at my content, and this might go terribly wrong, but look at our posts and try and find times in which Chris Webb or Simon Gates says, I need more business, I want more business, sign up with me.
Yeah.
Like, that
I
doesn't.
was I'll put a little glimpse behind the scenes here. So I've got a social media person who looks after my social media profiles, as you might imagine. And one of our pictures we put up about 2 weeks ago was a picture of me, with some of our guys we work with them with an award, saying, well done, them sort of thing. And they put a thing at the bottom saying, "Who's next?" question mark. And I was like, we don't do that. Even just saying who's next, I'm like, we do not do that in any way, shape, or form. We just say congratulations to Bob and Jenny, sort of thing. Amazing result. Glad to be a part of it. Thank you very much. We do not say who's next, like ever. Like we do not do any kind of selling or pitching from our business in any way. And anytime I ever kind of like feel that sort of vibe, shut it down straight away.
Yeah, I think so you've made me think of the only thing I would do if I put out newsletters, market updates, or posts about someone having success. It will just be like a like, comment, DM me if you want to know like something for free, not booking a call and pay me money kind of thing. I think the only thing really, like if I've if someone, like, let's say, messages me and goes, "Oh, you said something on Chris's podcast about finding owners' details. Can you give me an example? Send me a link." I send them the link and they go, "That's been really helpful." So just uh, a little bit of advice here for anyone listening about getting reviews. If anyone ever says thank you for something, you then say you're welcome. So not no worries or no problem, because that indicates it could have been a problem. So I'm big on language. So you say you're welcome and you just say, "Could you do me a small favor?" There's only two answers to that question. It's yes or depends what it is. No one has ever said no to "could you do me a small favor?" And sod's law, someone will listen to this and say no to me to take the mick. But when you say "do me a small favor," yes, depends what it is. Would you be kind enough to leave me a review on Google today via the link below? And just doing that has meant I've got a substantial amount of reviews in the last almost 2 years of the business. And I've been really big on reviews, whether it's been in my business when I was at Home Search or when I was an estate agent. I can't tell you the amount of times people say, "I looked at all the reviews you've got and they were fantastic." And that's why I'm having a conversation with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I remember messaging Simon Ledbetter before we knew each other, saying, "Oh, Simon, I've listened to you on a podcast, and you're talking about doing bulk email. I've started doing it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the advice," sort of thing. Within about 20 seconds, literally exactly that came back saying, "Oh, I really appreciate that, Chris. Glad you enjoyed it. By the way, would you mind giving me a quick sort of testimonial on LinkedIn?" And I was like, "Oh, there we go. He's in marketing."
And do you think so? I think you said that on that story on your latest podcast that got released, and I think that's a prime example of, like, Simon Ledbetter's given, and it's very much ripping off Alex Hormozy here, what I'm about to say, but he's given so much value that you feel like you should be paying him. And then when he's gone, "Could you leave me a review or recommendation on LinkedIn?" which is completely free, you feel indebted to do it. It doesn't cost you any money, but you've got something from him that arguably you feel like you should have paid for.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a case that people are more than happy to do that. You just need to ask. And I think sometimes people are very reluctant. I was with a very well-known estate agent in the property world just before Christmas, and I was like, "Why haven't you got more reviews?" And they were just like, "Oh, I don't like to ask because, like, if I get a one-star review, like, it will keep me awake at night." And I'm like, "Everyone loves you. Like, literally everyone loves you. Like, online, offline, you've been anything, you're amazing." While we were there, they had like flowers delivered, some chocolates delivered. I'm like, "Everyone loves you." I was like, "All you need to do is ask and say, actually, just do me a tiny favor, jump on, give me a quick 5-star review," and everyone would do it," sort of thing. So why do you think people have that fear of asking for a review from people that they know would quite happily give a review?
First of all, probably being typically British,
Yep.
we don't like to do it. And I would actually say that if I think of going to restaurants in the UK, and if a waiter or waitress is not British, they're more likely to ask for a review. Because it's just ingrained in our British culture to not ask for reviews. And yeah, I think they are scared of getting negative reviews. But again, to plug Simon Ledbetter, I know you're keen on this Net Promoter Score. You want to know if things are not good, because it could improve your business. And there's a fantastic book by Matthew Syed called Black Box Thinking. I strongly recommend. Chris is nodding for those listening, so he obviously knows it's a good book. And I'd also listen to Matthew Syed on Chris Williams's Modern Wisdom podcast. But yeah, read that book, because it just shows that, like, if you think you're perfect, actually you're missing out on so much. I think who is it? Oh, I can't remember. Well, who's the Hoover guy?
Dyson, James Dyson.
Dyson. Was it Dyson? I think he'd said in his book, like, he failed in inverted commas like 10,000 times before he got the first Dyson. It's like, well, he didn't fail 10,000 times. He found 10,000 times on how not to produce a Hoover. If he felt like he got it right first time, it'd probably be a pretty rubbish Hoover.
There's also a very good lesson there about personal branding when you need to say, "Who's the Hoover guy?" and we're thinking of James Dyson. So he
I,
needs to post more content.
Yeah, I know I would have got there eventually, but just conscious of the time of the podcast. But yeah, I think on the review side of things, yeah, I think that, again, going back to the ego sort of thing, as much as we have a confidence and ego about us, we are also fragile creatures in a state agency, I think. So you can get 100 5-star Google reviews and then get one-star review, and then the world has ended. So I think that's a difficulty there as well. But yeah, for any agents listening to this, like it's a bit like anything. What's the saying? Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. Comfort doesn't happen in the growth zone. Like you just got to get out there and ask you. And it's not just on completion as well. Let's say, Chris, I'm a well, let's say you set up a self-employed estate agency tomorrow, and you only get reviews on completion. Best in the world, you're not going to get a review for at least 6 months. So actually, it's going to anyone who you give them property advice to, and saying, "Would you be kind enough to leave me a review?"
Yeah.
And any viewings, any valuations, anyone who's had a good experience, ask them for a review.
And it makes anyone else feel better about this. So I spent 6 months writing my first book. I gave away 10 letter templates, process guides, system stuff that people will sell for thousands and thousands of pounds. Someone gave me a 1-star review. And for about 30 seconds, I was like, oh, that really, really stings. And then after that 30 seconds, I was like, it is what it is, sort of thing. So don't feel too bad if you ever get rad reviews. Happens to the best of us. So Simon, so thank you so much for coming on today. If there was one last bit of advice you'd give any self-employed agents who are listening to this, what would that advice be?
God, you got me there. So this is going to be a really random one, which you'd expect from this conversation we've had, because I do ramble. But don't mistake motion for action. So we can all be busy fools, but make sure you're moving forward. So I'm completely ripping this off from James Clear. But a rocking horse is always in motion, but never going anywhere. The racehorse has blinkers on and it's going for the finish line. So just make sure that you are fully focused. Don't get distracted. And I promise you, if you keep consistent with what you are hoping to achieve, you will get there if you remain disciplined.
Simon, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been well overdue. We'll have to have you back in the future. Thank you so much for being a brilliant guest, mate.
Thanks for having me, Chris.